Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 1st meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I can't believe it's February 1st already. Where did January go? So I'd like to welcome everybody. If you would, please stand and join our Vice Mayor in the pledge and the invocation.
Heavenly Father, we give thanks for the multitude of blessings you bestow upon us each and every day, for our families and for our friends, for our health and for our happiness. As we gather here tonight to handle the business of our city, we thank you for these blessings and ask for your guidance on this council to do the next right thing. Guide us on the decisions we make tonight, both large and small, that we will always do what is just and right. We ask for your grace on all the employees of this city and for the protection of our first responders who serve and protect the citizens of our great city. We ask these blessings in all the many different names as you are known, but in your most holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Pause for a moment for a little housekeeping here. Thank you. Okay. We're good. I'd like to call Miss Sylvia Adams to the podium. Welcome, Miss Adams.
Thank you.
So it's my pleasure to read a proclamation for you tonight, and on behalf of our entire city. And the proclamation says, whereas Black History Month affords special opportunity to become more knowledgeable about Black heritage and to honor the many Black leaders who have contributed to the progress of our nation. And whereas such knowledge can strengthen the insight of all of our citizens regarding the issues of human rights, the great strides that have been made in the crusade to eliminate the barriers to equality for minority groups, and the continuing struggle against racial discrimination and poverty. And whereas, as we journey toward a more united nation, let us use this commemoration of Black History Month to serve as a reminder of the need for meaningful dialogue and shared commitment to actions that uplift and empower all. Now therefore I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim February 2022 as Black History Month. And so, Ms. Adams, would you like to make a few comments?
I would indeed. Thank you very much, Mayor. My thanks to you. My thanks to the members of the Temple Terrace City Council. My name is Sylvia Adams. I am a community volunteer. I have lived in Temple Terrace for over 31 years. And I have watched this city grow and change, and certainly this proclamation is evidence of that. So I applaud the city leaders for recognizing the diverse population that lives here within the city of Temple Terrace. I just want to take a brief moment to emphasize one point in the proclamation, and that is that while we celebrate Black history in February, let's be very clear about something. Black history is American history. It is one piece of cloth sewn together with pieces of cloths from many other groups to create this quilt that we call American history. And when we acknowledge our history, both the good and the bad, it allows us to forge a more equitable and fair future for everyone. So again, I thank you all and happy Black History Month.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Very well put. Well, stay up.
Don't go away.
That's right, you slid out the way. Thank you.
We'll all know what year we took those pictures, right? Face masks.
What is that you say, we smile with our eyes? Is that
Yeah,
how you-
I hope so, yeah.
Next item on our agenda is a presentation from AECOM regarding hydrostatic strength test for the FGT pipeline. And Lauren Brooks from AECOM Project Manager and Senior Transportation Planner is here to explain. Hello, welcome.
Hi there, good evening. Thanks for having me today. Again, I'm with AECOM, Lauren Brooks. I represent Florida Gas Transmission Company. I'm here to inform you about some maintenance work that's being done within your area. So there are 4 tests actually occurring simultaneously, 1 in Polk County, 2 in Hillsborough County, and then 1 in Pinellas. So 2 of them actually straddle Polk and Hillsborough, and then 1 of them straddles Hillsborough and Pinellas. But this particular test section is just within Hillsborough County. So this is the 14-inch pipeline, section 2. So Florida Gas Transmission Company, they're a natural gas provider. They operate along the Gulf Coast of the United States. They provide natural gas for Hillsborough County, and the 14-inch pipeline serves Tampa and the city of Temple Terrace. Since Florida Gas is a transmission company, it actually provides service to electric utility companies and local distributors, who then in turn provide service to smaller businesses and residences. So this is a federally mandated test. It's their standard common practice. It's all in the name of safety. We're testing the integrity of the pipeline. So again, it's kind of maintenance work, precautionary. This is hydro testing. So hydro means water. So we are testing the pipeline, the integrity of the pipeline with water. We've been performing this standard common test all over the state of Florida. You can see the various counties that we performed this test in. We actually tested this particular section of the 14-inch pipeline back in 2015. So here we are again in 2022, re-performing the test. As you can see from this project schedule, we've been preparing for the test for months. This particular test will take place on Monday morning, early Monday morning, from midnight to 4 a.m., Monday, March 7th. The 14-inch section 2 pipeline is 9 miles, approximately 9 miles in length. It extends from Tampa Bypass Canal to east of Lake Magdalene. We will be testing all 9 miles at once. It generally follows 3 alignments: Fowler Avenue, the CSX Railroad line, which runs parallel to Nebraska Avenue, and then it extends over to Fletcher Avenue. It traverses unincorporated Hillsborough County, and then again the cities of Temple Terrace and Tampa. So here is an overview of where this particular section of the pipeline is located. So I'll kind of go through the detail of how this test is performed. So about a week ahead of the test, we will remove gas from the pipeline. No service will be interrupted. The folks that operate off of the Section 2 piece of the 14-inch pipeline will simply be transferred over to a different pipeline. So again, no service will be interrupted. Once the gas is removed, we will fill the pipeline up with water, and we will put the water under pressure. Right now, the pipeline currently operates at 750 pounds per square inch, or PSI. We will ramp that water pressure up to 1,500 PSI. So 1,500 PSI, water under that type of pressure can pack a punch. So meaning it's known to take out asphalt of a road. So out of safety, we are closing off some roads and lanes, again, just for safety reasons. So we will hold the pressure at this 1,500 PSI for 30 minutes. That's kind of considered the spike portion of the test. Once we get past that, we will lower the pressure back down to an intermediate level at 1,357 PSI, and we will maintain that pressure for 8 hours. So while the test is still occurring after that 30-minute spike portion, once we get past that spike portion, we feel pretty confident we're not going to have any integrity issues, and we can remove all the maintenance of traffic barricades. Once we get past that 8-hour period, we will lower the pressure back down. We will drain the water from the system. Nothing magical happens to the water. We have all of our permits from Southwest Florida Water Management District, the Florida Department of Transportation. We're simply draining the water at a slow rate in order to prevent turbidity. Once we drain the water, we'll fill the line back up with gas and service will resume as normal. I did want to note that if there is an integrity issue found, Florida Gas has all contractors and material on hand. What we would do is simply isolate that particular portion of the pipeline, make the repair immediately. We might have to do a little maintenance of traffic to, depending where the repair is, we might have to close off a small portion of a road here or there. But we'll perform the repair as quickly as possible, but we will have to do a retest. And any retest will occur between midnight and 4. We do not test on the weekends, because again, our goal is to make sure we're not hindering, traffic. So midnight to 4, that's why we're doing it midnight to 4, Sunday through Monday, or, a weeknight. So my job as the part of the public awareness team is to make sure everybody's informed, no one is surprised regarding this test. So we will inform property owners adjacent to the pipeline within 300 feet and any logical extension areas, meaning we're not just going to inform 3 neighbors within a neighborhood because they fall within the 300-foot buffer. We will notice or notify the whole neighborhood. So we will be sending out flyers, which I'll show you all in a minute. We'll do it twice, two mailings of flyers. We will publish 2 newspaper ads in the Tampa Bay Times. We have a website with all of this information on there. We will be issuing a press release the Friday before the test. We will also have dynamic message signs up in the area 2 weeks in advance to notify the traveling public. I also wanted to note that if we do have to perform a retest, we will not have time to mail out another round of flyers or publish another round of newspaper ads. So we will simply notify folks through these variable message signs and through press releases. However, you all are on our contact list, so you will receive an email blast immediately informing you of any retest or any repair work in your area. So we'll keep you well informed. So I know this is a little hard to read. So the top map is kind of our maintenance of traffic map. So you can see the whole pipeline, and the colored areas are the parcels. So you can see we're reaching an extensive area, trying to notify folks. If you look at your right lower corner, that's kind of a zoomed in version. As I mentioned before, we're not just going to notify a few folks of a neighborhood. Instead, we'll just notify the whole neighborhood. Those purple parcels that you see, those are kind of special parcels, meaning those folks are going to be, quote unquote, trapped in the sense that we just don't want them going out at 2 a.m. to go to 7-Eleven and grab a Twinkie. We just ask that they stay home, and at 4 a.m. when the roads open back up, they can go grab their Twinkie. But I want to underscore the fact that emergency vehicles will always be able to access any area at all times. FGT is not here to hinder what they need to do. So again, we just ask that they cross the pipeline, try not to drive along the pipeline in areas where it's closed, but FGT is glad to get out the way and let them do what they need to do. So for those purple folks, because they're going to be trapped, FGT is not here to hinder anyone's livelihood. So if they have a legitimate reason to circulate in and out of the area between midnight and 4 a.m., FGT is glad to put them up in a hotel room for the night of the test and any night of the retest. So if they're an emergency room doctor, a bus driver, a truck driver, a garbage man, it doesn't matter. FGT will gladly accommodate them for the test and any retest. We also have detours in place, so that's the lower left corner. I know, again, it's a little hard to read, and all this material is on our website. But I just wanted to note that we do have detours in place to help mitigate the traffic impacts. So this is the flyer that it's going to be in both English and Spanish. This is what will go out to all parcels within the area, the parcels within 300 feet and any of those logical extension areas. And then this particular flyer will just go to the purple people. And again, it has a toll-free 844 number that they can call, and that's, we'll talk to them and put them up in a hotel. So just to give you a quick overview of what actually takes place the night of the test. So starting at midnight or 12:01, that's when we'll start setting up our maintenance of traffic. So we'll put up the barricades, we'll put up the signs for the detours. We actually have Florida Highway Patrol assisting us, so they'll be scattered along the pipeline again to help folks navigate the detours and the closings. We will perform what's called an all clear. So basically, we'll start at one end and we'll drive the pipeline or walk it in areas where we can't drive it, just to make sure there aren't any people out there with popcorn watching the test, or there's no equipment around. Again, this is all being done with water. It's just out of, safety precautions. Once we receive the all clear, that's when we'll start ramping up the pressure. So again, we'll always have the roads open by 4 a.m. no matter what. It's just if we do have an integrity issue, we will isolate that particular portion of the pipeline, and that may or may not require additional maintenance of traffic. But all that is covered under our permits. So here is the website to this particular test, so feel free to check it out. The 844 toll-free number is on here as well, and then there's a specific email address that folks can use if they have any questions. And then here's just a quick summary. Again, it's a federally mandated test. We're testing with water. This particular test will be conducted from midnight to 4 a.m. on Monday, March 7th. We have detours in place for these various closures. We have law enforcement support. They'll be out along the pipeline, and emergency vehicles are always able to access any area at all times. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Council members, questions?
Yeah.
Chief? Good? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next item is a draft utilities work plan for the American Rescue Plan Act. Public Works Director of Utilities, Troy Tinch, will explain. Welcome, Mr.
Mayor,
Tinch.
I'm sorry to
I'm sorry.
interrupt. Since we have families here with kids who apparently have public comment, do you think it's possible to skip this for now and do public comment and come back to it? Because I'm thinking about,
How long is your presentation going to take?
6-7 minutes.
Yeah,
That's not too long.
let's stick with that, because
okay. I just thought it might be really long because
I understand.
the width of the,
No, if it's fairly brief, I hate to do that, because then
okay,
next thing you know, we'll be,
understood.
yeah. But thank you for the,
Now, you've been put on like snap it.
Sorry.
Probably move as quickly as possible. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council, Troy Tinch, Public Works Utilities Director. I'm here this evening to present the draft utility work plan to potentially be funded under the American Rescue Plan Act. A little bit of information about the act itself. The ARPA, or American Rescue Plan Act, is a $1.9 trillion economic stimulus plan. Of that 1.9 trillion, about 360 billion have been set aside for state and local recovery. Of that amount, which is distributed based on population, you have about 285 million going to the county, with Temple Terrace receiving their proportionate share of about $13 million. So how can that $13 million be spent? Well, ARPA is very specific about how that can be spent, and they identify it under their eligible uses. There's 4 of them. You have public health and economic impacts, you have premium pay, revenue loss, and the one that we're really going to focus on this evening, which is the investment in infrastructure. So city management sat down and looked at the $13 million and came up with a preliminary distribution. Right now, we're looking at approximately $2 million for revenue loss. The remaining $11 million would be focusing on the investment in infrastructure. Again, about $1 million for broadband expansion and $10 million for utility-related work, which again is the draft work plan that I provided. So staff and myself sat down in the utilities department. We looked at our CIP, our capital improvement program, and we identified 30 projects that we thought would be up for potential funding under the ARPA. It breaks down to about 7 stormwater projects, 17 wastewater projects, and 6 potable water projects. We then assign each of those projects a rating on a 1 through 4 scale, with 1 being the highest score through 4 descending. Those break down to the priority 1 projects, of course, coming in just under that $10 million mark, which again is what we've tentatively earmarked. The remaining projects, priority 2, you have about $2.6 million. Priority 3, you have about $3.6 million. And priority 4, you have about $1.1 million. So what are our next steps? Well, step number 1 is for you to receive the plan. And you have that now in your possession this evening, and for you to start reviewing that plan. Get input from your constituents on what is entailed in that plan itself. From there, we'll go to potentially reprioritizing, adding new projects. That's why we prioritize 1 through 4 projects. Say you see a priority 2 or a priority 3 project you really feel should be brought forward, we can bring that forward at that time. Say you have another project that we don't even have in the plan, we can add that in. Keeping in mind that we have a defined limit on the amount of money we can spend. It's just, so if 1 comes in, 1 falls out. So we want to go ahead, get that input, potentially reprioritize, look at new projects, finalize the plan. Then I'll bring it in front of you for approval via resolution. And the most important is to begin work. And when I say begin work, I mean begin work in earnest. Because all these projects, all $10 million, have to be designed, bid, and let for construction, meaning approved by you and a contractor selected for construction before the end of 2024. So in a little less than 2 years, we have to design all these projects, we have to bid them, we have to get them out let them for construction. And understanding that some of these projects take 6, 8, even 12 months to design, couple that with about a 4 to 5 month procurement window, things are going to be tight. So it's important that we really focus on the plan. You guys have the opportunity to review it. We can run through any of the projects. What you'll notice about the plan itself is it has a brief intro, then followed by the prioritization list, and then the individual cut sheets, if you will, for each individual project goes into greater detail. So pour through this, see what you think. We will certainly, get some input from constituents, would be a good idea, and then we move forward from there to finalize the project. Now, the good thing is, as long as we have everything designed, bid, and ready for construction, they're going to give us a 2-year window to construct the projects. So we have a little bit of time once the dust settles, if you will. But that said, the next 4 years are going to be quite busy, to say the least. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm sure there are probably a number of questions, and I'll be happy to stand for those.
Well, Mr. Tinch, I just have one, really, and that is, I understand the need for haste,
Yes.
to move this forward, I understand. But we did also talk last meeting, I think it was, about exploring the possibility of putting in Wi-Fi in some of our public spaces.
Yes.
Particularly the downtown, where we're trying to draw people in some of our major parks.
Absolutely.
So are we still exploring that?
We are absolutely, Mr. Mayor. As a matter of fact, the $1 million for that broadband, that's what that's to cover. Now, that would be covered under a different department. It wouldn't be under the utility department. The plan itself only identifies utility-based projects, so water, sewer, wastewater, potable water. So, and the broadband element would come from likely IT or the Parks Department, a combination of those two.
$1 million doesn't seem like a lot of money to do that, but, okay.
Again, you could, if you want to put a little more money towards broadband and take a little away from the utility side, it's very dynamic at this point.
Okay, just,
we could certainly-
well, the point in bringing that up is, as this shakes down the funnel, when we get to the point of, we're gonna get to a point where we've given you the final blessing on this, and I don't wanna do that until we have all the information about the Wi-Fi capabilities and what that might really cost, so.
Understood.
Okay. Council members, questions? Vice Mayor Schisler?
To your point on that, are we going to get a presentation from you, Sally? On the broadband aspect of this?
I haven't heard,
Okay,
but I certainly
Okay, that probably wouldn't help, that probably wouldn't hurt for us to know what we're looking at. Just, it's a softball question, how will the funding work? Are we going to do this, pay it, and then get reimbursed? Are they going to front money and then we justify it in the end?
So,
Do we know?
as I understand it, speaking with finance this afternoon, we already have 6.1 million, basically half the amount in our coffers.
That they've
So-
already funded part of it.
Right, so we can go ahead and start funding these projects. I did ask when the remainder would be available, and they weren't certain, but they were gonna check into it. We could certainly provide you with that. But I think the intent is that money's available to immediately tap into to start these projects.
Do the cut sheets contain data on how long it's going to take to anticipated design time?
Yes,
Good.
design and construction.
Cool. And when do you want feedback from us?
Next meeting?
But that's fine, yeah, when,
I mean, I don't want to push this. This is a big dollar amount. This is big for the city. And I think everybody needs to digest the information and digest it thoroughly. Certainly, my envision of how to spend the money may not be yours. And that's what we're here for, is to get a little direction from you. So if you need maybe a month, 30 days, that would put us at the second meeting in March. But really would like to try and wrap it as quickly as possible.
Time is of
Of
the
the
essence.
Yeah,
so-
it is.
we have a
'Cause-
deadline, then give us our deadline and we'll meet.
Absolutely. Well, I think Charles and I spoke, and he was hoping maybe the first meeting in March, but that's only a 2-week window. If you think maybe you could use the additional time for maybe reaching out to the constituents and getting input from them, I would recommend that, and then push it out to,
Were we thinking of still having the town hall meeting?
Well,
Yeah, maybe.
we could. I would really hope that we don't become the thing that slows this down. There's a lot of engineering, there's a lot of work to be done here. And I certainly would hate for this body to be the thing that causes any delays. They've got more work to do than they can get done as it is, so.
We can figure it out before the next meeting, or,
Well, all the priority one projects are,
Is it-
I agree.
Is it too late to get it on the next meeting? Can we get it on the agenda for the next, second meeting in February?
It's a Friday, don't you?
I would just have to finalize everything by the end of the week, finalize the project. So probably what would happen is you would come back to me on the first meeting in March, say, yes, you approve of it. I would then bring it before you via a resolution second meeting.
I would have no problem personally with you distributing this to the public, put it on a website, make it available at the library and the public buildings and city hall and the rec center and let people see it. I mean, I don't really think, we're talking about stormwater projects and things like that. That's not the kind of thing that most people are gonna get really passionate about.
Right.
But we have a lot of skilled people in the city, though. Somebody might see it and say, well, wait a minute, this would be better. We have a lot of talent out there. So,
Agreed.
but, we don't have to necessarily have a town hall meeting to get feedback. We can be getting feedback right now. I mean, put it on the website, make it available to people, and,
I'll work with Lori on getting that established and getting that set
yeah,
up.
I really hate for us to, we sit on it, and we plan a town hall meeting, it takes 30 days to do that, then we digest the
Agreed.
feedback we get, takes another 30 days. In the meantime, your clock is running and engineers are sitting there not doing anything.
Right. And something else to keep in mind, we're 13 million, the county's 285.
Yeah, good luck getting contractors,
So, yeah,
materials and everything else.
engineers are going to be very busy for the next 4 years.
Right, so.
And construction companies likewise.
So, council, are you good with this? And I don't mind if you bring it back at the next meeting.
Okay,
You're going to come back to us at the next meeting?
I will come back with a resolution
Yes.
for approval.
Yes.
Is that,
And I was just gonna say, I believe we could even, if I bring it back for resolution for approval, if you want to tweak something minor, I believe we could do that as you make that approval. It would just be maybe a Scrivener's type change, or is that possible? If for some reason they wanted to move something to a priority 1 that's now a priority 2. Okay,
the only thing I would ask in the resolution is that there be some kind of language in there that allows us to modify
Yeah,
the work
absolutely.
schedule, because we don't have the broadband information we need, and that might come in 2 months from now. in which time we might say, well, we want to abandon this project and go, because I don't really think $1 million is going to be enough. Maybe it will.
Right.
But I see some budget modifications coming on that. I don't think $1 million is going to be enough money, but
I think we could craft something that would handle that.
yeah, just put something in there that gives us that flexibility so that, you know, we get the broadband information later. We can say, well, we want to spend 2 million on that instead of 1, or
And if I'm not mistaken, you're just approving the plan. That doesn't mean that you couldn't change a priority 1 to a priority 2, and vice versa down the road. Because you're approving the plan as it is, it doesn't mean that
Right, but
all
Troy,
priority
you-
1s will be constructed.
you're telling us that this pipe is a priority 1. I don't think anybody up here is going to tell you, no, that's a priority 3. I mean, we don't know the pipes,
Sure.
so.
Thank you. This-
Reasonable plan? Okay.
Good.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Tim.
much. I will see you next council meeting.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if we can have a quick motion to approve the minutes, we will move on to public comment. Motion and a second. Is there discussion of the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The minutes are approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the point of public comment. So I don't think this is going to be an issue, but I see more requests coming in. So the council has an existing rule that we set aside 30 minutes at this point in the meeting for public comment. If the public comment exceeds 30 minutes, and I'm doing I don't think it will, but if it does, more people come in, we'll go a little bit over 30 minutes if there's 2 people left. But we need to get on with our agendas. So after 30 minutes, we pause the public comment section, and then we resume. For anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to speak, we do that after we've dealt with our agenda items. I don't think that's going to be an issue unless more people come in, but in any event. So a 3-minute time limit is imposed on all public comment, all comments from the public. We do ask that speakers approach the podium and state your name and city of residence for the record. And we do like to assure you that we do take all your comments seriously, and we do follow up on them. So who has the children? If I don't know your names, but if you'll come up, those with kids, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let them go first. If you want to come up, so that you're welcome to stay, but that gives you the ability to leave also.
You're going to do this solo, Dad.
Sir, if you could give me your name so I can make sure I get you out of the,
Sure. And I'll just maybe introduce.
that's it.
That's a light. It's like, just talk to Barca.
So what's your name, sir?
Thank you. Kelly Benjamin. I'm a resident of Table Terrace, and I live on Ferncliff. A lot of us are here from
Can
Fern
I get your name once more, please?
Avenue. Kelly Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Kelly Benjamin.
Yes, sir.
I got it.
I want to thank.
Welcome, Mr. Benjamin.
Yes, Vice Mayor Schischler and Councilmember Abel for talking to me about this issue. I know it was brought up, I think, the last council issue about the sidewalk request for Ferncliff Avenue between Bellevue and Glenarvin, which is a block away from River Hills Elementary School, where many of our children attend. It's an unsafe situation, and we've had numerous incidents and close calls. I think when you were there last week, and you know, both of these members took time out of their day to come and observe the situation during pickup and drop-off times, where there's a big backup on River Hills, and people use Ferncliff as a cut-through, sometimes driving very quickly. There's a bottleneck at the end where parents park their cars and they walk over to River Hills to pick up their children, and what that does is it turns Ferncliff into a one-lane road right there. And some of those cars make that turn from, I sent a picture, I think, Mayor Ross, I sent a map to you with a little line to indicate where I'm talking about. And I have some other photos and material I can send to you as well. But, several times we have to almost jump right onto the curb to avoid traffic that sometimes does not slow down, sometimes does not see children. So we're here today to request a sidewalk. We also have a petition that another member of our group is going to, we've been around to a lot of the residents there to talk about it. Vast majority are in favor. I listened to the meeting that you had 2 weeks ago where I believe it was a city manager who said, why don't they just walk over on River Hills? And the problem there is that it's the opposite direction of the school, number one. Number two, River Hills is like a highway. Once parents drop off their kids or pick them up, they try to book it back to 56th Street as fast as they can. So that becomes like a worse situation than what we're dealing with already. Anyway, I'd like to introduce a couple of children who live on Ferncliff Avenue who had a couple of things to say about the need for a sidewalk, if that's okay.
They're on your 3 minutes.
All right, let's do, all right. You can take your mask down and state your name, and you can read. Go ahead. You can do it, Bailey. Just read it.
Why we need a sidewalk? Ferncliff Avenue needs a sidewalk. I think we need a sidewalk so people walking to school don't need to go to the side of the road every time a car. Normally cars park on our street, so there's not enough room for people to go by if another car is coming. Cars usually go fast on our street, and it makes me nervous and scared. Scared when I'm walking, biking, or scooting. I don't want anyone to feel scared, nervous, or both when they are on our street. That is why I think we need a sidewalk on Ferncliff Avenue.
This is Zora Benjamin of Ferncliff Avenue. Speak loud.
People are going too fast. We need a sidewalk so we can walk to school safely. I do not want people to go fast. I am afraid if people are going too fast, we are going to get hurt. So I would want a sidewalk so people do not get hurt. I would love it if we did. It would make me twice as happy. So that is why. Thank you.
Great job, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you. Are those
Anybody else?
speakers with children too, sir?
Yes.
Okay. What's your name, sir?
My name is Christopher Flass. I am also a resident of Temple Terrace, Ferncliff Avenue. So I'm here to emphasize, what Kelly has already stated, that there are multiple children on Ferncliff Avenue that walk both to and from school every morning and afternoon. Morning tends to be more of a problem than the afternoon. The city has started to look at this. I've noticed that there is I work from home. I face the road every morning. There is a police presence in the afternoon, which has been, we've been thankful for. But at the end of the day, this is, a safety issue with children. And so essentially, speed limit here is 25 miles per hour. And I would have to say that 25 miles per hour with a kid, especially a 3-year-old, who is on the street is still too fast. And we have a significant number of incidences where people are above and beyond 25 miles per hour and have take no issue with that. We've had a handful of altercations that have happened when parents have tried to address this with drivers. A couple of them have gotten outright out of hand in front of the kids. So it's not ideal. I just want to emphasize that at the end of the day, this is ultimately a public safety issue that involves children. This road is about 100 yards from the school. This is not remote from the school. One of the reasons we are where we are is because we wanted the proximity to the school as well as the parks. The same issue essentially extends down to Biltmore Park, which is a regular access point for many of the kids on the street. There is no sidewalk that continues down Ferncliff over to a children's playground, which is a little bit appalling, but I understand that, sidewalks weren't necessarily part of the original plan. So, I would like to advocate for sidewalks, citywide at some point in time. I know that's a big process. But as these requests come in, this one in particular has to do with public safety of children in what really should be a school zone, though it's not. So, you know, as much as enforcement is, you know, beneficial and helpful, it's not going to solve the issue. We can't enforce 24/7, and a sidewalk would remove the immediate threat. So, you know, I don't know if everybody's aware, but Florida is the most dangerous state in the country for pedestrians, more deaths than any other state. The greater St. Pete and Tampa area, Temple Terrace included in that zone, is the 8th most deadly city in the country, greater city area in the country for pedestrian deaths. And it's mostly due to either lacking infrastructure or non-existent infrastructure. So.
I have some other Flasses, I'm assuming are the same family.
One of them was.
Which one? Bailey Flass. So I have a Rana? I can't, did I say it right? Is it Rihanna? Welcome, ma'am.
My name is Rhiannon Flass. I'm a resident of Temple Terrace. And again, we have been here for 3 years. One of the reasons we moved to the location in Temple Terrace was because we are walking distance from a grocery store, from 3 different playgrounds, from the school, from the post office. The walkability of this area in Temple Terrace was a huge draw for us. We would like to be able to do it safely and without the heart attacks that we have on a daily basis when we're walking with the children, where a car comes speeding by and the children are on their scooters and they're biking and doing the normal outdoor things that children should be doing. But it's in a dangerous situation when the cars are going by and they are going by fast. Not nearly enough of them slow down when they're going. Even at 25 miles an hour, it's fast with the little ones. And even when they're going 40 miles an hour, they often don't slow down. They still go by us at that speed, and it is terrifying. Not knowing, you know, is somebody going to make a mad move? And we're constantly yelling at our children, move aside, move aside. And when cars are parked on the street and the kids have to go around the cars and there are other cars coming, and we often find ourselves in the grass trying to dodge the dog poop that's on the side of the road because we can't be in a clean, safe space while we're trying to walk to the playground or to school. We really, really would appreciate your consideration in this matter, so that we can more fully enjoy it without being so worried and so anxious about the safety of us and our children as we're going about our daily business and our walks to school, but also to the parks and the playgrounds and the grocery stores and all of the wonderful things that Temple Terrace has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flass. Matthew Palm. Welcome, Mr. Palm.
Hi, thank you, sir. My name is Matthew Palm, citizen of Temple Terrace as well. So I'm here to echo some of the other neighborhood individuals that have come up so far. I live on the other end of Ferncliff where the bottleneck occurs. I have a 5-year-old, and this is, again, to echo some of the comments, is we really love the city. We want to see the city thrive as different generations come into the city, and so that they can feel safe as well. Where our house is located, though, we don't have the luxury to be able to take a different route. My son will be attending River Hills Elementary next year, but more so, I'd just like to teach him how to ride a bike. You know, some of the simple things that we kind of get caught up in, to have a place to do that would be fantastic. But I also, you know, selfishly, but then also from a community standpoint, I would love for that for my neighbors. I would love to have that as a community thing, that we were able to implement something other than just the speed bumps that are there. The speed bumps are across the entire road, and we still have the issue. So I bring it up from that standpoint is that we can have the police presence, we can have, they've placed a speed enforcement signal device to show how fast you're going. And those things are all very great, and we appreciate those things, as the community has said. And so this would bring it into another level of appreciation, I think, for myself and my family. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Palm. Katie Turner.
Hi, thank you so much, Mayor Ross, City Council members, the staff members who are here today. My name is Katie Turner. I actually used to live at 340 Ferncliff, where Mr. Palm resided. And then in May 2020, my family and I relocated right around the corner to Bellevue Avenue. My son started kindergarten this year at River Hills Elementary, and as I'm sure you can imagine, we were so excited to be able to walk to school every morning with our friends, our neighbors, over on Ferncliff, because we do have such an incredible community over there. We're so glad we moved to Temple Terrace. After the first day, first week, subsequent weeks, we realized we actually weren't excited. We were really stressed out by that walk because there were cars speeding frequently beyond that 25 miles per hour, as our neighbors have commented on. They're trying to bypass the traffic that comes from the backup from the car line on River Hills. And in doing so, they're speeding down Ferncliff to drop their kids off. As early as August of 2021, I've called the City of Temple Terrace Police Department multiple times to let them know about incidents, altercations, and I actually emailed City Council and the Mayor's office, as well as the City Manager. I had 2 different police officers come out to my home, unannounced, unscheduled, during my workday, both times to advise me that there really wasn't a lot that could be done. We had a Children at Play sign installed, which was appreciated in addition to the speed bumps, as Mr. Palm identified. But unfortunately, it's simply insufficient. We've requested a speed study, the results of which were incorrect. The second speed study, the results have not been delivered to us. However, it has been determined that there is a lot of speeding that is occurring. We're asking for sidewalks because we are so thrilled to be in this community and we want other families to come here as the city grows. But the infrastructure has to grow with it. We are asking for the sidewalks to prevent accidents and mortality because we have kids who are playing and someone is going to get hurt. And we don't want that to happen on their walks to school. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for paying attention to us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Catherine Morris.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Catherine Morris. I do have a petition. Can I just pass these around to everyone? You'll notice this is primarily Ferncliff. I did not have an opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, my name is Catherine Morris. I reside at 332 Ferncliff. My daughter, Zora, is a first grader at River Hills. Much echoed like a lot of the other neighbors who got up here. We really love the neighborhood. We were very excited that she could walk to school, and I'm excited that it's an IB school and that it's just a wonderful institution and continues to grow and become better and better. So with that said, that school has changed from what it originally was. I believe 7 years ago, it was just a neighborhood school. And then the community residents got together and said, we want to improve our school. And so they made it an IB magnet school. With that, we draw people from all over the county. So it's not just people walking to school, which luckily we can have that opportunity, which is what we love about it. And so many other young families moving in with, well, maybe not so young, but other families moving in with children also are very appreciative that the school is a wonderful school and it's so close. But it's drawing people from all over because it's a magnet school. So you have lots more cars than were there 7 years ago. As a result, you have 3 different streets that are coming together onto River Hills, creating that bottleneck. And because they're driving distances to get to work afterwards, they're driving very quickly, both to and from when dropping their children off. So as you know, you've heard many of the stories already from our children, from the other neighbors. This is a dangerous situation. But I'd like to point out that with these new families that are moving in, we're increasing our property values. You know, we're putting money into our homes, and therefore we're increasing tax base as well. And this is the kind of infrastructure that will continue to increase our property values and continue to make our neighborhoods better. So I don't want to belabor the point that it's clearly dangerous. I think we've made that very clear, but I also want to point out that with this increased tax money, this is what we're asking for as citizens of Temple Terrace. We're asking for the infrastructure to be put in place. You'll notice on all of the zip code, or the addresses that are odd are the ones that are the families that would be immediately impacted. So I talked to everyone on the street, I tried to, and everyone was in agreement, except for there were two families that I was unable to talk to at the very end, but I know verbally they're both in agreement, but I wasn't able to connect with them prior. So the majority of people are in agreement on that street, that they agree that the sidewalk is necessary. And then I would like a little bit more time to get a few more signatures as well, but this was just what I was able to do within the last couple of days. So I just wanted to finally say, please don't let another 20 years go by.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm having trouble reading this. Is it George?
Yes.
Okay. I can't, you'll have to help us with the last name.
My great handwriting, thank you. My name is George Zwerko. I'm a Temple Terrace resident, been here 5 years now. Love the neighborhood. There's one difference between me and the other families and my neighbors. My children do not attend River Hills Elementary. I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, but like children in the neighborhood, they all gravitate toward one another, and we have a wonderful population of children that play together. And while my neighbors were addressing the fact that on the walk to school, there's an issue with speeders in the neighborhood, that issue continues round the clock into the weekends when our kids get together and play. All our kids are friends. We have 10 kids that'll show up in our lawn, and they're running around all over the place, up and down the driveway, across lawns, just having a great time. And of course, they're oblivious to what's happening around them. But then we have speeders just coming through on a Saturday, on a Sunday. The roads are too skinny as they are, and then there's no sidewalks. And I know Temple Terrace is making a great effort into turning this into a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. With the work that's happening with the luxury homes, what's happening around Winn-Dixie, the shops, the downtown Temple Terrace, we are looking at walkability, and that should include the neighborhoods that we live in. The speed bumps don't help, the reflectors don't help. Our little signs that say kids playing do not help. And even us standing on the front lawn giving everyone stink eye is not helping. But what I need to have happen is some attention being given to the fact that we do need sidewalks. We have a growing family population, but also we have a lot of senior citizens that live on our block that take walks. And we have all witnessed one of the ladies that live on our block, an elderly woman who suffers from dementia, who was just taking a walk down the street, and a car was trying to get around her and got aggressive with the fact that she wasn't moving out of the way and kept inching at this older woman. That should never happen. We have an active population in our neighborhood. People are walking, running, biking, all these things are happening. And I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but I really love the fact that if you give this just an ounce of attention, because it would be really helpful. We do love Temple Terrace, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Charles Lieb. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you all. Nice to be back again after a couple of years. Tonight, I wanted to go talk to you about what the county is doing, and that is going over this month and next month, dealing with the transit tax, which is what I was writing about, to put it, whether they want to put it on the ballot or not. And given some of these folks' concerns, I think this would be of interest to him, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know that there are 4 meetings over the month, not including Lightfoot, unfortunately, to my disappointment, about whether that the public wants the transit tax on the ballot or not come November 2022. Now, what I wrote you basically was not just about the past, but about the future. The idea is not so much that I support or oppose the transit taxes. The idea of this, I actually called it jokingly all for democracy. What I mean by that is that the public voted for the transit tax. So therefore, in other words, the state courts, in my opinion, have or if I had to say, would have nothing to say over it, because this is what the public wants. And this is about our democratic institutions, really. One of the big issues on there, and I wrote on this, was about the idea of a Citizens Advisory Committee. Now, in almost 20 years ago, Miami-Dade County passed a half-penny sales tax, and they had a Citizens Advisory Committee. Nobody's hardly said a word about that. Why? Because they knew how to do it in Miami-Dade County. So therefore, I did want to mention that, and if this gets passed down, maybe there would still be a Citizens Advisory Committee should the referendum be on the ballot. Now, the other thing that I'm concerned about, assuming that it would pass, would be the idea of accountability. That's a big issue, plus help the low-income people who would have a problem paying the tax. And I put this within my letter, my 3-page letter too. And comparing some, and finally I closed in the letter telling how much money has been expended just to try to have the sales tax put on the ballot, what it actually could have done for public transportation. For example, in the Go Hillsborough initiative, it cost about $1.5 million and 3 years worth of work. In December 2018, the county passed, it would have put, that same money, would have put in 20 buses, for senior citizen Heart Plus buses. And the all for transit was about 3 times more money, and just to get it passed, and I don't even want to think about what happened over the court. So in other words, let's, get it done one way or the other and get, in my opinion, at least get it on the ballot. And I hope it will be helpful to get this downtown and get their opinion. It's too bad it's really not coming up here, but, but I do want people to be aware, maybe pass comments on to you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Lieb. Alyssa Hines, I'm sorry, Alyssa Hines. Welcome, Ms. Hines.
Hello. Actually, I hate coming up here every time I do it, but okay. I wanted to talk about the safety of our neighborhoods. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the speeding and everything, but I also live on the same road, and our mailbox has been hit and our trash cans, and so our kids aren't allowed to even check the mail because it's just not a safe spot. But I'm not going to talk about that because we've all talked about it. But I do want to talk about the safety of our neighborhoods in general. I don't know. I wasn't planning on talking, so I don't actually have the dates, but in 1 week, they found 2 dead bodies within less than a quarter mile from our houses in the river. Those type of things aren't normal, things that we want our kids to be in a neighborhood raised. When we go up to, walk up to Starbucks or walk up to Winn-Dixie, I've seen an increase in homelessness and, other people out there like that. And it's just not, even on our, next door apps and other Facebook pages, we just see like an increase in crime. And notifications in the Temple Terrace area. And my husband's born and raised here. His whole family was raised here. I'm not from here, so maybe that's just how it's always been, and I'm just have to get used to that. But it's not necessarily somewhere. Yes, we have schools and parks and neighborhood activities and everything like that. Rec center, which is great for the families, but the safety is not my number one concern for our family. And if I can't trust that my kids can go up to the store and get a candy bar or whatever. As they're growing up, it's just not a very safe place for families. And I know being from the outside, looking in, like trying to get families to come into our neighborhood, and what they see online is a lot of crime and, those type of, I guess, posts or, whatever they see online. That's not, I just wasn't sure if there's something as a community that we can, do to involve, to take care of those type of things. I have no idea how to do that. That's that's just what I've noticed as a family. I love, we love Temple Terrace. It is a great area, but it's just the safety part is what's very concerning. And so I just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. And that is the last request to speak. If you'll indulge me for a minute or so. First of all, I want to say that our crime rates in Temple Terrace are extremely low. If you go online and compare our crime rates to Tampa, unincorporated, Pasco, Plant City, any other place, you will find that our city is extremely safe and our crime rates are very, very low. Our violent crime is almost non-existent. So I just want the public to understand that. Anecdotally, it's easy to say, well, there was a body found in the river. Yes, but you have to look at the data and look at the crime rates. Our crime rates are exemplary. Low. I don't mean exemplary like they're high. Low. Very, very low. That's, so to say that we have high crime is just not, I don't care what category of crime you look at, that's not true. So the sidewalk issue, we all know, everybody up here knows that this is an important issue. In fact, many of us have corresponded and or talked to and met with most of you. There's a process for this, as I've explained to, and I know several people have explained. This doesn't happen overnight. Government does not move like that. It doesn't move like private business. We can't just go out and pour concrete tomorrow. There's a process. We are in the process. We are gathering data. Traffic studies have to be done. Pedestrian studies have to be done. Average speeds. You know some of this already. In addition to that, we need to know where the right-of-way is there. We don't know how much of that road we own and what you own, right? So we need to know how much right-of-way we have along that street. We don't know that yet. We also need to know where the utilities are located. And that's not a snap of a finger either. That's something that has to be figured out also. Then we have to figure out what does the sidewalk cost from A to Z. There's some metrics for that. It's not, doesn't take forever to figure that out, but how much 100 feet of sidewalk costs and how much this would cost. What's the funding source for that? Is that something that we need to try to talk about when we talk about next year's budget, or is it something that we have in our capital plan now? There are a lot of questions to this before we can just go out and start digging up your yards and pour sidewalk. You've not gotten a no from us. You've gotten a, we're working on this from us, is what you've gotten. I have told some of you myself, and I know I'm not the only one, that we're working on it. I've asked for some of this information. The city manager has pushed that down to some of his directors to get some data so that we can intelligently talk about, is this a feasible project? Do we want to fund it? What's the other projects? Where's this fit on our capital list? We can't have that conversation until we have some of this data. So you've not been forgotten. You've not been not heard. You may be a little premature. We know this is important to you, and we are working on it, but it's not going to happen tomorrow, okay? So, Vice Mayor.
If I may, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you guys for coming in. I think that the main purpose for everybody coming in tonight was so that if at all possible, we can figure out a way to accelerate it. As was stated before, this is a very unique situation. This isn't like Herschel Drive or many other streets or my street. We have an area that's artificially impacted by a former neighborhood school that is now a huge magnet school. And I know I was down there a couple times. For half an hour, I sat there in the intersection, and well over a dozen cars driving in there, not in the car line, parked there, and there was no room on that street for anybody to walk down. It was an extremely dangerous situation. And then a school bus came down, 3 UPS trucks came down. They barely made it down the street. Now, recognizing all the logistical issues, and I think I explained that, we have to work through those. But I wanted the citizens to come tonight. I asked them, I recommended that they come tonight to express the need to see if we can accelerate it. I stood on that street and I almost got hit. A car had to be doing at least 35, almost hit me. Now, maybe they didn't see me, but I know they saw me before they would have seen one of these little ones. And I'll be honest with you, I really don't ever want to have to tell anybody on that street, because it's not their fault. This is nothing that they can do about it. And I don't think the school can do anything about it either, because of the nature of the traffic. A TPD police vehicle came up and picked up a kid in the street, waited for them to come up and get there. People parked there, walked down to school, come back up, and there's no room. I saw 4 mothers with little strollers that had to walk down the middle of the street just to get anywhere. Dozens of kids not necessarily coming to the cars, going to their houses on Ferncliff. And the point I want to make, and I recognize all the logistical issues that we have, We just want to make sure that they're heard and that they know that we're doing what we can do about it as quickly as we can do it. And that I think it's very important because it's only going to take one tragedy, and it doesn't matter what we can do. It's all over for that. But that's all I want to say about that. I'll stop there.
As long as we're making comment. which
Okay,
we
be
never do.
brief, though. We haven't even gotten to the
I know.
agenda yet.
I agree. My point is, there must be something else we can do before we have to lay concrete. Like no parking signs, change the speed limit to 10 miles an hour. If it's 10 miles an hour, that's not the street I'm taking anymore. I'll take another one. Sorry to the other neighbors. But my point is, there must be some things we can do that we can do quickly. Like no parking seems to me like a no-brainer. If people are parking, they're just going to have to figure out another way. I mean, they shouldn't be parking there and walking their kids up, causing if the UPS truck can't get down there, something's wrong there, right? Or no parking except on one side of the road, or there's got to be some things we can do. So let's say to the neighbors, and thank you so much for coming. It's so wonderful to see you here, really, and understand, just like the mayor said, we're not going to say, okay, we'll get to you in 2 years or by the time your kid's in the 5th grade. We are slow, but hopefully we're not going to be that slow, because there's got to be a way to work on this problem as we're working on the big fix. So that's what I want to see happen, and that's what I would direct, with your blessing, the city manager to do, which would be to look at a way, talk to the police chief, find out what else can we do to mitigate that speed, because that speeding is, you're right, 25 miles an hour is way too fast in what should be considered a school zone. It's a shame it's not a school zone, because that would help it a lot. Have you approached the Hillsborough County Schools? What makes a school zone? Is it a?
That's a complicated question.
Yeah. Yes, I know, I'm aware.
You don't just pop up.
Oh, I am fully aware.
There's a lot of metrics.
Just thought I'd throw it out there.
That's, yes, and all of that request that you've heard, all of, has been made to, that work direction has been given to the
Okay.
city by us.
Okay,
already.
good.
So we just need to stay on it.
Okay.
To make sure that we get answers in a timely fashion. And you, like I said, you haven't gotten a no, you're not getting, I mean, we recognize the problem, all of us do. But it does take a little time for us to work through this, and so that work direction has been given already. Yes, Chief?
I just wanted to add, I'm glad you guys came. It's not like the officers and myself aren't aware of the situation that you're dealing with. We have had, I'm sure you're aware, but we've had officers out there. We've had the covert and the overt approaches done. The city manager plans to do that this week, I believe tomorrow, if I'm recalling correctly. He plans on being out there, as you have been, to see firsthand what he can see. But every day, any isolated day is just that. It's an isolated day. Now, I can tell you that the accurate numbers are in, and there was a definitive reason. We purchased a brand-new covert speed analytical system, and we were in such a hurry to deploy it, by the way, for your issues, that it was deployed, and the numbers that came back were just so ridiculously high, we knew there had to be a problem. We immediately deployed it again, recognized that there was a problem, got in contact. We have recalibrated. The patrol captain, Chris Mills, had to reboot the whole system, basically. We've tested it a couple of times. We believe the accuracy is there now. We're confident that it is. We've already got the data back. City manager has the data. You should be getting the data. But if I could say anything, because it is a more complicated issue, as you've said, I know what the data is. And my recommendation, and you're not going to be happy with the data, but let me preface that by saying this. Regardless of the data, you as a council have talked about, and somebody mentioned a goal of sidewalks throughout the city. You have talked about the need in this particular location because of the issues unique to this location. And certainly you as a council have the ability to set in motion after you do get that data, but not because of that data, to earmark that location as being one of the locations where maybe that's the place where you do want to put the first sidewalk in this master plan of adding sidewalks throughout the city. But don't let that be a no simply because the data isn't such that would jump off the paper at you as being a critical issue, because there are so many variables here that I really would encourage you guys to make the decisions based on the uniqueness of this location and not the data.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, more to come on this. I assure you this is not going to be forgotten. I promise you, this council's hearing you, and we are not going to forget your situation. Okay. So,
Thank you for coming.
yes, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Next up is the consent agenda. Chief Albano, would you please explain the items listed on the consent agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. We have 3 items on the consent agenda tonight for your consideration and approval. The first being the purchase of a 30 kW diesel generator for a lift station D, purchase to be made from Mid-Florida Diesel under Florida Sheriff's Association contract number FSA 20-EQU18.0 in the amount of $93,932, payment to be made from account number 430-1931-535.63-33. And funding is available in the fiscal year 22 budget for this purchase. The second is the purchase of an 80 kW diesel generator for the Orange River lift station, purchase to be made from Mid-Florida Diesel under the Florida Sheriff's Association contract FSA 20-EQU18.0, purchased in the amount of $75,594. Payment to be made from account number 430-1931-535.63-33, and this is also included in the fiscal year 22 budget. The third and final item on consent agenda is the purchase of a 100 kW diesel generator for a lift station A, purchase to be made from Mid-Florida Diesel under the Florida Sheriff's Association contract FSA 20-EQU18.0 in the amount of $98,869. Payment to be made from account number 430-1931-535.63-33. And as before, this purchase is included in our fiscal 22 budget.
Thank you, Chief. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is approved. Next item is a resolution approving the expenditure of special law enforcement trust funds. Police Chief Ken Albano will explain that also.
Yes, good evening again, Mayor and City Council members. Before you this evening for your consideration and approval are 2 expenditure requests from our Special Law Enforcement Trust Fund. Special Law Enforcement Trust Funds are revenues arising from law enforcement activities where contraband is recovered or when other proceeds of criminal activity are forfeited. These proceeds may only be used toward purposes that meet statutory restrictions, are requested by the Chief of Police, and are ultimately approved by City Council. In accordance with the Florida Contraband Forfeiture Act, the following expenditures are recommended. The first expenditure being $4,500 toward crime prevention programs and promotional items, including but not limited to Coffee with a Cop, Citizens Police Academy, National Night Out, and the purchase of various crime prevention promotional and educational materials. Payment to be made from account number 001-143-521.48-41 under project code POLFOR. The second being a donation of $10,000 in support of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Tampa Bay, Sam and Larice Hashem Temple Terrace Boys and Girls Club. Donation to be made from account number 001-1411-521.82-20, also under project code POLFOR. The foregoing forfeiture expenditures, collectively totaling $14,500, comply with the statutory requirements of the Florida Contraband Forfeiture Act and, upon receiving council approval, will be utilized toward the aforementioned purchases and donation in accordance with established city procedures. Upon the expenditure of the above listed forfeiture funds, a balance of $38,544.94 will still need to be expended or donated in accordance with Florida Statute Section 932.7055, subsection 5, subsection C, 3, in support or operation of drug treatment, drug abuse, drug prevention, crime prevention, safe neighborhood, or school resource officer programs. In testament and assurance of this, the required certification document has been signed by me and attached to the agenda item. It is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution approving the requested expenditures from the Special Law Enforcement Trust Fund totaling $14,500. And with that, if you have any questions, I'll answer for you.
Thank you, Chief. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member, questions?
I think it's a great way to spend your money.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Chief. Council business. Obviously, this has been an eventful week in Temple Terrace with the arrest of one of our employees, unfortunately. I'm not sure how to open this discussion, but if there's any discussion of these events, this would be the appropriate place for this to happen. Councilmember Abel.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Mayor Ross, for your leadership in handling this situation. From back in August, you knew what to do when those allegations came forward, sent it to the FDLE for investigation. And yesterday in the press conference, you spoke to our values and our ideals in Temple Terrace. Even though something bad happened, you know, that's not what we are. And I appreciate what you've done in this difficult situation. You did say one thing in the press conference, though, that bears repeating, that this was one employee and it's not reflective of Temple Terrace and its staff as a whole. And that's true. We have many great employees who will always choose to act with integrity. But this occurred because there was no proper oversight of this director who reported directly to the city manager. And I hate to discuss this without him here, but this is a hard conversation and it's one that we need to have. In the press conference yesterday, the FDLE representative very clearly stated that this is an ongoing investigation and that Mr. Stevenson was not the subject of this particular probe. But when asked, he specifically did not proclaim the innocence of the city manager. I'm sure you all recall from the allegations that I read back in August that the notice of commencement for this bore Mr. Stevenson's name and signature as the contractor for this project. It stands to reason that Mr. Stevenson was either negligent in his duties or complicit in Mr. Anisi's activities. And I believe that Mr. Anisi could not have done this without active or passive cooperation by the city manager. If Mr. Stevenson had been doing this part of his job, we wouldn't be in the news right now for the arrest of one of our directors. That was a failure of leadership. Good leaders take responsibility for failures in their organization and actively participate in rooting out what is good for the community. Mr. Stevenson didn't do that. I want a leader who willingly cooperates in investigations because it's for the good of the city and for the public trust. You know what they say. They say, the innocent have nothing to fear. The bottom line here is, I can't trust Mr. Stevenson. I don't trust him to manage his people or tell the truth about what happens under his watch. I don't trust him to choose the right thing with any consistency. I don't trust him to go through proper procedure in selecting contractors or dealing with employees. And I can't work with someone who I don't trust anymore. The residents and employees of Temple Terrace deserve better, and we deserve better. I looked up his contract to see what constitutes cause for termination, and there's 9 items there that are outlined, but the language states that we're not limited to those items. Some items that jumped out to me were A, failure to perform the duties of the city manager's position in a satisfactory manner, G, willful disregard of city policies and procedures, I, insubordination or deliberate refusal to follow the instructions of city council. Within the last few months, I've seen each of these in Mr. Stevenson's actions. pertaining to this and other issues as well. So that's why I'm making this motion right now to terminate the city manager's contract on the grounds of failure to perform the duties of the city manager's position in a satisfactory manner.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
I'd like to begin the discussion, if that's all right.
Actually, usually it's not the motion maker that
Oh, it's the
begins, if there's others who
I'm
want
sorry.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Okay, if not, then Councilmember Abel.
I do have a comment.
Oh, well,
You can go first.
No, I too looked up the contract, and you're exactly right. I feel that one of the things that jumped out to me was that said that he was unable to perform his duties. And performing his duties listed a long list of things that, you know, he is supposed to do, which is supervising department heads. He directs and manages all the city's operations, you know, establishes operational policies. I mean, Mr. Stevenson worked in that department. He knows the rules and regulations of working in that department. And therefore, for this to have been able to happen, and it does beg the question why he didn't write down the contractor's name. I mean, why did he write his own name? I mean, how many, I'm guessing that that's a rare occasion that he would write his name down as the contractor for the form for Hillsborough County. That was the flag for me, but I'll tell you, to me, this is, you know, we've been embarrassed lately in the news over our lack of basic fundamental business practices, and those things fall under the city manager. So I think you said it very well. I've got myself a written page as well, but there's nothing that I need to add to that. I'm sorry we're in this situation, but I think we are definitely in the right to terminate his contract with cause. That's my comment.
Councilmember Abel?
So whether or not the ongoing investigation pertains to Mr. Stevenson, the outcome we heard yesterday is enough for us to make this decision. I don't need to wait to find out what else is going to happen. Furthermore, I've been reflecting on this for a while. Temple Terrace is a municipality in America, and we have a system that divides government into branches as a motive and means to prevent abuses or misguided actions by another. We have checks and balances, and this is basic civics, and they're in place to ensure that one branch of government doesn't have too much power. And Mr. Stevenson has shown again and again that he doesn't want to be checked and he doesn't want to be balanced. And this is implicit in the council manager form of government. That's how it's supposed to be, that our city charter outlines for us. What we need here is a city manager who respects that and upholds what's good for the city. That's all.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion of the motion? Councilmember Chambers?
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you said, and I certainly wouldn't make a decision on this case because we don't know all the facts. You know, we don't know why signatures were made in certain places. We don't know about checks and balances in that particular issue with the contractor. I don't know that yet. I agree that there's been some pushback, and that's a problem. I'm uncomfortable doing that without someone here. That's my problem. So.
Vice Mayor Schisler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fully recognizing the gravity of the issues that arose with the actions yesterday and what happened, I too have a problem with acting in abstention. I'm sorry. We have a responsibility to protect all of our citizens and all of the actions of the city, and we have to be very careful in assigning or condemning due to the one situation of a potentially quote-unquote rogue employee as to something that they did. I do believe that we need to come up with some type of a program And I think that these programs are available to help us do better and to help us make the city a better place to work in and to do business with. I would prefer to wait until Mr. Stevenson was here so he could offer commentary. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here, so tonight would have been an ideal time to discuss it. I'm not necessarily saying I won't do it. I'm just saying at this point I think it's premature, and I think that we're jumping the gun on a specific issue and situation that we have to fix. Now, but that being said, I am dismayed with the fact that he has not been more forthcoming in helping with the investigation and so forth, and that's somewhat problematic. When the last time we met on an issue like this, I had made the comment that I don't want to have to come to too many more special meetings where we have to direct him to do something specific, because that's going to create its own set of problems. But on the same hand, if he had nothing to do with this, you know, and anybody who's been in management knows that you can't control every issue every day of everything. So things can happen, things can occur that there's just no way to know it, especially if the perpetrator, for lack of a better word, is able to hide and disguise what they were doing. So I would prefer to wait on something like this until our next meeting, where maybe we'll have some more information. I don't know. I guess the FDLE report's not going to come out anything specific. I do believe that the investigator said that they were not looking anymore at Mr. Stevenson. I'm paraphrasing, but I don't know that he's a subject of any further investigation on this. In which case, that's a different, that's a side issue. But I think we should wait until Mr. Stevenson's here and an opportunity to offer defense of himself. And 2 weeks isn't going to make that big of a difference in whether we continue with him or terminate at that point. And I think we should. I would like to wait until then. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it at that point. I'd like to ask some questions as to why or what's the thought process behind that. Why didn't you answer the questions, or why didn't you cooperate more? I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. There may be a totally logical answer. I don't know, but I think I'd like to wait to hear till he's here to answer those questions.
Is there further discussion of the motion? Councilmember Donahue.
Well, may I ask you a question? If we didn't do it tonight, what do we do for the next 2 weeks with a city manager who knows we're about to terminate his contract and that he possibly we have the votes to do that? What does that do to these employees who know that their boss is do we suspend him? If this motion fails, do we suspend him for 2 weeks until we meet again? Or do we call a special meeting to do this quickly? And I'm sorry, this is like the last straw for me. I mean, it's embarrassing each time these things come up, and instead of responding, he throws it back on us. He told us that we broke the law because Councilwoman Abel read from an anonymous letter. She didn't read from an anonymous letter. She knew who handed her that packet. She was not reading. We were just not told the name. But we got a packet this thick about how we had broken the law. My face is getting red, so I'm going to stop talking. But that's my question to you. We have to move. Something has to happen tonight. And I hope this vote proceeds. And if it doesn't, we need to come up with another plan immediately to protect our employees.
So this is a very difficult and sensitive topic, obviously. And I don't think anybody up here takes any pleasure
None.
in this discussion. But I have to tell you, I have to tell the community that I am committed and I believe that all of you too are, I believe everybody up here is genuine, and I believe that this council, every single one of us, is committed to transparency, legality, professionalism, ethical integrity, excellence in city government, fairness, all of those things. I don't think there's a person sitting up here that doesn't feel the same way. Our city manager recently, and I have no intent to dig up old stuff or drag somebody through the mud. There's no benefit to that, and that's not what my intent is. We had a very serious issue concerning a director, not Mr. Anisi, another director. And per the city rules, it fell on me, as your mayor, to conduct an investigation into that matter. And Mr. Stevenson did not only fail to cooperate in that investigation, he obstructed it. He failed to disclose documents that were pertinent to the investigation. And we all know that because after the investigation was concluded, he delivered those documents to each of our homes. And he did not cooperate with the city attorney, who was A, the city's attorney, and B, the mayor's appointed investigator acting on the mayor's behalf per city rules. Mr. Stevenson has also failed to cooperate in this FDLE investigation, which I want to be quick to add is his legal right. And his exercise of his rights in no way infers guilt at all. Somebody has the right to exercise their rights without inferring guilt. But as his employer, we also have the right to expect our employees to cooperate with an investigation into wrongdoing in City Hall. He did not do that. This motion is not going to fail, and I take no pleasure in that. The biggest regret I have is that I try very hard to get this council to make unanimous decisions when possible. I believe that everybody up here is sincere and genuine in their service to this city. I hate to see this happen on a 3-2 vote, but if it must be, it must be. So, is there further discussion of the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous? Unanimous. Okay. I need just one moment, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, in anticipation of at least some discussion of this tonight, I would have been remiss in my role had I not at least had some idea of what to do. I had no idea what the outcome of tonight was going to be, but obviously I knew it was going to be discussed. So I would like to ask you for a special meeting on Monday, and I'd like two things from you tonight. And one is I'd like us to ask Chief Albano to be interim city manager, hopefully for the very short term, immediately, right now. I would like Monday to have an opportunity between now and then to make some contacts and to come back together on Monday to put some options in front of you for your approval for an interim city manager while we conduct a search and discuss our permanent solution.
Monday the 9th?
Monday, that's after you're back.
13th.
This coming Monday is what?
Monday the 14th, I'm sorry. I leave.
This coming Monday is,
Yeah, I'm not in the country.
I thought you were.
13th I get back.
You're talking about,
When,
The 14th, I mean,
excuse,
Sorry, are we just discussing scheduling up here?
Scheduling is all,
Okay,
I'm
because
yes, I know.
the council members talking and
I
we
know.
can't hear.
I apologize. We're discussing
I could hear him,
scheduling.
it was only dates.
Yeah, it's dates. I would like to hold our special council meeting on Monday, this coming Monday,
Okay.
6 PM.
okay.
Evening?
Yes, 6 PM in the evening. And at that time, we'll hopefully have some options for moving forward. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Does that give you sufficient time, Madam Clerk? City Attorney, is that,
That's fine.
okay.
What happens tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning, Chief Albano is acting city manager. I will get with him after the meeting and discuss some internal
We need
things.
to state that that is an ex officio position because he would be prohibited from being city manager as well as police chief under dual office holding prohibitions. However, you can designate that an officer perform the duties of another officer ex officio.
Okay. So, that is my intent. Let me see if I can get that in the record accurately. Chief, what we're discussing is you to be ex officio city manager until such time that we can identify a interim city manager to, that the council approves.
I understand, Mr. Mayor, and I was going to bring that up, but better that the
Okay.
attorney did.
Thank you.
Otherwise, he would no longer be the police chief and he would only be the city manager.
We do not want that.
No, we don't want that.
So, Mr. Schoen, any other guidance that we might need?
I think that is it so far as I listen to your discussion. If you continue, I may have more to say, so.
Okay. Well, right now, I think that closes this discussion unless somebody else has something else. We're on to new business. Any other new business?
No.
Chief Albano, city attorney, any reports, anything to? Okay, we will be adjourned.